One of the most common compliments that I get is on my skin. Everyone wants to know what I do from skincare to procedures. So I trust it all to Skinworks Wellness in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Let me tell you, they know what they're doing. Whether it's hydrofacials to fillers or a full skin reset, they've got you covered. Be sure to follow them on Instagram and Facebook. They're always dropping monthly specials and flash sales. You do not want to miss these. And the best part is that consultations are always free. Book now and thank me later. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Elite Life with Sam. I'm Sam. Hi, if this is your first time listening in, welcome to the podcast. Today's going to be a little bit different than usual. I don't have a guest here today. It's literally just going to be me and you, girl. I'm talking directly to you. And today's episode could potentially be a little more uncomfortable, but understand if I'm pointing a finger at you, I'm pointing three more back at myself. Today, I'm going to be talking about lived experience, things that I have personally gone through. And in my journey of speaking to women, I can tell that this isn't a unique experience. So if you haven't listened to episode 1 of season 3, stop. Go back and listen to that because it's going to give you a lot of insight on my personal story, my journey, and why I am qualified to talk about these things. So buckle up and understand that everything that I'm saying today is from a place of love. Think of me more like a big sister, and I'm giving you life advice. So, girl, if you do not heal your father and your mother wound, you are never going to be successful in life. Now, I know that sounds really calloused, but it is true. And let me dig into it today and explain to you a little more why. Even abusive and absent parents can teach powerful lessons about success. And no, I'm not just talking about doing the polar opposite of them. I understand more than probably anyone learning in spite of what my parents did. Your success is directly tied to your story, not in spite of it, but because of it. All right, we're going to jump into this. In episode 1, I really gave you background into my childhood, my upbringing, my father, my mother, and a little more of my story. My father was overbearing. He was mentally ill, and he parented physically and mentally abusive at times. And that type of upbringing, that father wound, made me reject all forms of direction and correction from male authority, really from all authority at all. And so I because of those wounds, I rejected any type of correction, right? And so in my personal life, it made marriage really, really hard. In my professional life, it almost immediately set me at odds with the opposite gender, right? So with men, anything a man would say or do, I was immediately bucking it and questioning it. And I remember in my first management position, I worked at this incredible boutique in Apalachicola, Florida. It's called the River Lily, and the owners were a husband and wife team, which is so funny thinking back now how God had all of this kind of preordained in my life. Like I was going to be in business with my husband, and it's funny just thinking now, like it just dawned on me that I worked for a really successful husband and wife team and watched how they interacted. But the wife, I really, really jived with her. She was just this hippie type, and she was creative, and she was free-spirited, and those were all the things that I felt like I connected with. Her husband, however, was very structured and gruff and direct, and you can imagine how that went over for me. And my dad used to say like a flock of lead ducks. It didn't. And so I remember I wish that I had taken more time to question, to ask questions and to really dive into his mind, because he was a very, very intelligent businessman. But at 18 years old, I just was not in a position where I was going to listen to a man at all. And I remember we hated each other. We went at it like cats and dogs. And there was one day in particular, I just laid across the receiving table and I was like, please fire me. I can't quit. I love PJ too much. Please just fire me. And he was like, I can't fire you because PJ will be so mad at me if I do. And so we were at this impossible impasse where I couldn't go forward in my position for lack of respect for him, and he couldn't pour into me and teach me anything because I was not correctable from a man. And so if you don't heal that father wound in you, you're going to miss a lot of really great opportunities to learn from men who are smarter and more successful than you, and potentially miss out on some really great blessings in your life. Because of that, you're going to reject discipline even from yourself. So a father wound is going to keep you stuck and messy. You are going to lack. So women, this is the way I kind of see it. Women are a balance of masculine and feminine energy. And I see it more in women than I do in men. And what happens is, because of circumstances that we go through or experiences that we have in life, we will lean further into the masculine and reject the feminine, or lean further into the feminine and reject the masculine because it's uncomfortable there. But if you will learn to balance the two and heal those father wounds in your life, and I don't mean it has to be your biological father that created, quote, father wounds. It could be a male authority in your past. You are going to reject personal discipline, meaning how many of you have created New Year's resolutions? I'm going to get up and structure my day and follow this schedule and follow this diet plan, and I'm going to read X amount of books a year, and I'm going to stick to a budget, and I'm going to blah, 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 blah. The list goes on. And if you make it 2 weeks, I'm impressed. Stop. If that's you and you have these false starts constantly throughout the year, and you have the best of intentions, and you are just continuously letting yourself down, maybe take a beat and reflect on where you have a father wound in your life, in your past, and really start working on that first. Because you're doing two things. You're failing to be successful at your intentions, and what you're telling yourself is, I can't rely on myself. I can make promises and promises to myself, but I never keep them. And so your self-esteem plummets, not just for the original reasons why you created this, dream structure in your life, but also because of the failure of it. And I get it. The thought of starting this journey and healing these wounds and dredging it up is terrifying. Girl, I know, I did it, but I allowed myself to spiral to the extent of I almost ruined my entire life. I was completely out of control. I was doing anything and everything to avoid actually confronting the real issues, and I was slapping Band-Aids on left, right, and center. So true growth requires balancing feminine, which is nurturing, and masculine, which is discipline. Healing the father wound restores your ability to receive structure. Listen, let me say that again. Healing the father wound restores your ability to receive structure, leadership, and accountability without fear. And I see this a lot. It happened in the feminist movement. I think the feminist movement was positive in the beginning, but because we allowed so much of our hurt and negativity towards the masculine to seep in and taint everything, it became something, unfortunately, that was negative to ourselves. And we lost sight of the true meaning of feminism. It is not rejecting and hating men, it is celebrating and women being equal to and not lesser than men. And part of that is understanding your masculine and healing all of those wounds associated with it. So let me not harp just on that, because we also have mother wounds, and that affects us in our success, both in our personal life and our business life. My mother was also kind of on the opposite spectrum, a mentally ill individual. She had extreme anxiety, and which led to depression. And later on, we found out she had bipolar disorder. And when she would lean into and work on her healing her masculine energy, she would stay on her medication, and she was flourishing. She did great at her job. She she repaired her relationship with my sister and I, but she just couldn't see it through. And so that every time it was that false start, it would fall away. And I developed, because of that, an extremely low self-esteem. And I called myself a free spirit, but really what that was is I was unmanageable. And someone who is unmanageable and unteachable is not going to find success personally or professionally. If your mother was anxious like mine was, distant or disconnected, nurturing and consistency feel foreign. So let's break that down a little bit. If your mother was distant from you and never really listened to what you had to say, or she felt like she was there physically, but emotionally and mentally she was checked out, and you were kind of, we joke about being the latchkey generation because our parents worked and we went from a one-income household to a two-income household. And the kids that were born in the 80s, raised in the 90s and early 2000s, we very much were left to kind of raise ourselves. And so because of that, the nurturing aspect of having a mother close and at home was foreign to us. And so we didn't have that example, right? So if you watch little girls, like toddler girls, they learn by mimicking, right? If they watch an older female that they respect and look up to, they're going to mimic caring for a baby or cooking in the kitchen or, drawing or whatever the case may be. And so little girls learn from watching the older generation and mimicking them. Well, if you don't have that present, you begin to fill in those gaps yourself. And once you try to have those implemented back in your life, they feel uncomfortable, kind of like sandpaper rubbing up against you. Elite Customs isn't just building cars, they're building a culture. As a female owner in a male-dominated industry, we are proud to pioneer a new kind of experience with women in mind. One where women feel empowered and inspired in the custom car space. From wraps to audio and everything in between, Elite is a full-service custom shop that makes your dreams a reality. Women want badass rides too, am I right? Follow Elite Customs TN on Instagram and TikTok. Inquire online at elitecustomstn.com. By appointment only, and consultations are always free. So that's why routines, planning, and structure can trigger panic in you. Maybe think of situations in your personal life where you see that as true. And let me also kind of take a pause right here. What I'm saying today is it's not necessarily specific for everybody's life, right? It's going to be a generality because I'm trying to cover a lot of different people with one topic. And so please don't take offense to anything, because this is very much like take what you need and leave the rest, because you may listen to one part of this and go, that doesn't really resonate with me at all. And that's okay. Just because it's my lived experience doesn't mean it needs to be your truth. But if something that I say and share can help you have even a small aha moment, take that and build on that. And everything that doesn't resonate with you, I give you full permission to cast to the side. Don't take it with you. In church, they had a saying that was, eat the meat and spit out the bones, right? Take whatever meat you need from this. So going back to that, planning, routines, and structure can trigger panic. They feel like confinement instead of care. And a lot of times women are much better at planning, organizing. It's generally why the grocery shopping is done by the female, right? Because we've got checks and lists, and we keep a count in our brain. And I don't know about you, but I wake up in the morning and immediately my brain kicks into overdrive mode, and I'm already going through my list of what I have to do that day. And I physically, intentionally have to stop myself and go, no, before I do this, I'm doing my gratitude list. And I go through thanking God for all the things that I'm grateful for, and it recenters me. But we are genetically pre-wired to be the ones that are a little more structured with routines. And so if that's not something that was modeled to you in your early life, if that's not something that was celebrated or instilled in you, that can feel like really scary and really uncomfortable, especially if you were left to, quote unquote, raise yourself. So healing that mother wound allows you to find safety in stability and softness in self-discipline. Do you see how the masculine and the feminine are balancing one another out? And let me go back to my parents. I kind of touched on this in episode 1. My father, he was an incredibly gifted carpenter, and he made a name for himself restoring historical turn of the century homes, and it truly was a craft for him. He was, like I said, incredibly gifted, and he could do things with his hands that were just breathtaking. And as I watched him go through his life, and it did bring him a lot of joy. He loved it so much, and it fulfilled him. If he had tools in his hands, I could see that his mind wasn't wandering, because he was plagued with anxieties and fears and panics. And when he was creating, his mind was preoccupied with creating and not wandering off and creating situations, made up situations in his mind. But the man died penniless and very much alone, and he everything that he feared in his life came to fruition because and that this is a whole nother episode, but you create your reality, and what you focus on grows. And so I watched the good and the bad come from him, and how his unhealed traumas and his unhealed father wounds stole everything from him that he wanted to build in his life, and the man that he wanted to be in his life. And so I can't disregard all the good things that he taught me either, because he was, like I said, incredibly skilled, and he was such a good person. He would help anybody. He would take the shirt off of his back. There were many, many times that he went in and repaired elderly people's homes at no charge. And if he was on a job site, and he was doing a specific job, he would stop and help in another area. And he was very much old school in the way that your word was your bond. And so that taught me that not only do you have to protect yourself legally, and you have to be smarter than your opponent, but you have to also stand on your word. And it's not enough just to get ahead in life financially. You also have to put into your community, and you also have to think of others before yourself. And I watched the mistakes that he made hurt not just him, but generationally. Like that potentially could have trickled down to my children if I didn't take the time and do the work and heal the things in myself and learn from the things that could have destroyed my life. Because again, in life, there was one time, if you listen to episode 1, where I talk about we lost everything and we had to move from the only home that I had ever known. And I was faced with that again later on in life when I had children, by no decision of my own, but it was still there. It was still prevalent. And had I not taken the time to begin to reflect on that and heal that and pull from the good things that I did learn from him and learn from the bad things that affected me and do the opposite, I would be in the exact same position. My children would then be repeating the cycle, and so on and so forth. And so it's not enough just to stand up and name the bad and learn from that, but also draw from it the good. He taught me the importance of building a community. In turn, he also taught me the importance of branding. He had no idea that that's what that was called. He was, born and raised in a small town. And so that was just the mindset of you are known for what you do. It's your reputation, so to speak. Well, your reputation is your branding. And so I learned very, very early on the importance of what I would later come to know as branding. And then marketing. And then again with my mother, same thing. She taught me that if you don't heal your childhood traumas and your wounds, that saying, you have the responsibility of healing yourself or you're going to bleed on those around you. It is so, so true. You are not responsible for the things that were done to you, but you are absolutely responsible for your own healing. And so you can't disregard what shaped you and be ungrateful for the lessons that God entrusted you with, because there's a scripture that says, to whom much is given, much is required. If you've gone through a lot in your life, you have a duty to learn from that, build on that, and teach others how to navigate the same waters. You'll always be pretending to be someone that you weren't intended to be. Now think about if I chose to completely disregard my upbringing and deny the type of childhood that I had and deny the lessons that I learned from years in ministry, years in hurt and unhealed wounds. If I denied all that and sat in front of you and told you, I have things to teach you, listen to me, but I have no credibility. I have nothing to draw from to say, all right, here's my example of why it's lived and learned. I physically went through it. I mentally went through it. I emotionally went through it. I came out better on the other side. If I disregarded all of that, you have no business listening to me. And you will always be pretending to be something that you aren't and pulling from a well that's empty. You have no experiences, no healing. You have nothing from this well to draw from because that's not who you are and that's not what made you. Your success is directly tied to the story that shaped you. You can honor the lessons, but not tolerate the abuse and disrespect. And I know this is easier said than done because trust me when I say there have been times in my life that I have been tempted to be ashamed of my past. I didn't want people to know because I didn't want people to judge me, because the person that I'm becoming, the person I am now, is so vastly different from the person that I was in the past. But shame is going to keep you stuck and small. 10 out of 10 times, shame will keep you stuck and small. When I stopped remembering the lessons that my particular life path taught me at a young age, I paid the price dearly. I did have a stall. I did have a point in time where my healing stopped and kind of regressed even now that I think about it, because I wasn't honoring the things that I had been through, the life that I had lived. Financially, mentally, physically, I got tore down to the very foundation that I was trying to run from. And at that point in time, I had to sit with myself, all of my ugly truths, all of the things that I tried to hide behind a curtain and makeup and a facade online. All of that was torn away, and God said, rebuild. And that's exactly what I did. Discipline will take you further and faster to where you want to be than laziness and complacency. Are you in a season of growth or a cycle? Seasons have time limits, right? Spring, summer, fall. A woman's cycle is 28 days. A man's cycle is 24 hours. Seasons will have a time limit, right? But unhealed cycles will repeat themselves, and they will only change when you do. Now, I'm going to drop something that is going to sound aggressive. So, steady yourselves. But I'm going to explain. A lot of y'all are committed to ignorance. This is that meat and bones moment. A lot of you are committed to ignorance, choosing to stay stuck when the keys of healing and success are just within your reach. Nobody is keeping you stuck but yourself. Nobody can heal you but yourself. But because it takes work and self-reflection, looking at the ugly parts of yourself and taking responsibility, and here's that word, accountability, you choose to snuggle up with pain, your trauma, and thus choosing to stay ignorant. Choosing to stay unhealed is choosing to stay in a position of defeat. You are literally choosing to be a loser in your life. And listen, I get it. Firsthand experience here. Healing hurts like hell. It is not fun. It makes you look at parts of yourself that you just don't want to. It makes you realize that you are a person that you don't want to be. And then you are stuck with you being the only person that can change that. No longer can you blame everybody else for who you've chosen to be in life. Once you take that step into healing, once you set out on that journey and you make that decision of there's no going back, it is difficult, but I'm telling you, it is worth it. It takes commitment to get to the other side, and it's not a short journey. This is a marathon, not a sprint, people. But it's absolutely necessary for being successful both in your personal life and your professional life. The opposite of ego isn't boldness. The opposite of ego is... Okay, ladies, you know I'm all about taking care of myself inside and out, especially when life gets busy. And right now, SkinWorks Wellness in Hendersonville, Tennessee is running their October specials. And let me tell you, these are so worth checking out. They're offering treatments that seriously level up your glow, like Silfirm X and Erbium Laser Combo. It's $1,250 and basically hits reset on your skin. We're talking smoother texture, boosted collagen, and that brighter, youthful look that makeup just can't fake. If you want something more seasonal and fun, they've got the Dermaplane and Pumpkin Peel for $150. It's such a perfect fall glow up. Think smooth, radiant skin that feels fresh and healthy. Or my personal favorite, the microneedling and PRP treatment for $450. It uses your own plasma, your body's natural magic, to rejuvenate your skin and leave it firmer, smoother, and seriously radiant. And for my SkinWorks members, you get 10 free units of Botox with every syringe of filler. That's their little members-only perk to keep you looking refreshed and youthful without overdoing it. So go ahead, treat yourself this month. Call or stop by SkinWorks Wellness and tell them Sam from Elite Life sent you. Because honestly, you deserve to feel confident and glow like you own the place. I think that's a good place to end. I'm going to hold this for another episode because this has been pretty heavy. I had a lot more to say in this episode, but I think that this is a good place to end it because I know this has been a lot of heavy self-reflection, and I don't mean this to offend anybody, and I promise if I haven't walked it, I'm not going to talk about it. Healing isn't something that happens quickly or happens overnight, and it's not linear, meaning it's not a straight line. We say this all the time on this podcast, that healing is cyclical. I'm 37 years old. I am a mom and a wife and a sister and an aunt and a daughter and a friend, and I've had to heal and grow in all of those areas. I'm also a boss and a business owner. And I've had to learn how to integrate all of those things because your personal life will directly affect your professional life. Your professional life will directly affect your personal life. And the people that say there has to be separation between personal and business does not know what the fuck they're talking about. It is almost impossible to separate the two because you're human, because you're taking the experiences and the lived lessons from your personal life into your work life and vice versa, from your work life into your personal life. Now, I understand in theory the whole leave the problems at the door, but that's a joke. You can't leave any problems at the door. What you can do is suppress. You can hold them to deal with for later, but you're never really, truly, fully putting those things down. And so understanding that your personal life and your personal traumas and your personal defeats are going to shade your professional life, why would you not want to put in the work and heal those to see the direct correlation of success in both? Like I said, I'm a 37-year-old woman, and I'm healing traumas that began when I was single digit. Things that I saw as a child will resurface because I have children, and they say there's nothing new under the sun. And it's true. Your parents had financial issues. You will have financial issues. Your parents had interpersonal issues. You will have interpersonal issues. Your parents had, relationship issues. You will have relationship issues. You don't have the market cornered on suffering. However, nobody else has lived your unique story. And so you will heal from the same thing multiple times because you're looking at it from a different angle. You're looking at it from a different lived experience. I have a 16-year-old now, and I'm going back in my mind to a time when I was 16, 17 years old so that I know how to relate to him and how to teach him and mother him and lead him. And, I guess my child thinks that I just came out of the womb 20 years old and I haven't, I've never lived my own unique experiences as a teenager. Or maybe he thinks because, it was so far back and removed from him that they're not relatable experiences, but they are. Yes, they are living in a world that we didn't have to live in, but the experiences tend to be the same. And so I'm looking at all of these situations from a different perspective of not just okay, let me reflect on what I lived. It's let me relate to my child and what are the things that I want to teach him and what are the things that I want to make sure he doesn't have to live with and suffer from and heal from. And that's kind of the way that I approach all of my parenting at this time is what am I teaching them? How am I interacting with them so that they don't have to seek therapy for what I've done? Because when you go through deeply intense hurt and wounds and trauma, that tends to tint everything that you do and all of your interactions and everything that you say. But there is healing, and there is another side of this where you truly can look back and reflect on it and see the good out of it as well, and how it potentially builds you into a powerhouse of a person, somebody who is just deeply rooted in understanding and knowledge, and you're a wealth of information for the next generation coming up. So I think this is a good point to just let you guys sit with this, and I look forward to hearing your feedback from this episode. And we have just an incredible season planned for you guys where we're going to be really digging into how our personal lives and our professional lives are just so intermingled and how you can absolutely find success in both. Much love to you all. I hope that just a little bit of what I said today can help you. And yeah, until next time, guys. See ya.